Dave, what happened to you?
I might have told a Gladiator that net fighting was lame.
Well, I guess now seems like a good time to talk about the Ultimate Gladiator D&D character build.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
A little wrapped up right now, but we're going to push through and make this happen. Hey, maybe it's your first time hanging out in Ted's basement, where I'm not always tied up. It's a place where we like to discuss news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and sometimes we talk about other stuff.
So, if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're going to talk about the Ultimate Gladiator build, and we're going to build a gladiator that fights with a net and try to make him not suck.
So before we get too far into this, I have to tell you there was a lot of talk and discussion over on the Discord about this whole idea, and there was a whole lot of talk and research and, concepts that had to be thrown away looking at all of the specific special rules when it comes to the net. There's a lot of time spent on looking at a variety of different sage advice to be able to find something that works as a character build that works with everything that all of the important people over at Wizards is going to allow.
Now, you can find a link to that Discord down in the description below. So we're looking at, several different character classes, race options, background options for this build.
So for races, we were looking at, a variety of different dwarves, elves, human, and half-orc.
For character classes, we were looking at fighters, rogues, monks, even clerics to throw into the mix.
So as we're looking at backgrounds, we obviously gladiator, but so do soldier, folk, hero, and outlander.
Well, speaking of backgrounds, let's get into the background of the research, some of the other research we did on this video with our sponsor, D&D Beyond. It made it really easy to look up all the different rules when we built this character, and it also made it much faster to build it from level 1 all the way up to level 20 using the character builder. But that's not all we use D&D Beyond for. We use it to build encounters, we use it to research spells and all kinds of things in that huge database of all the official Wizards of the Coast content. But there's so much more over there.
There is plenty of free content, for all viewers who want to go look at. There is all the material that's on the SRD. You have plenty of videos and articles that you can explore to improve your D&D game.
You can find a link down in the description.
So also down in the description, you will find a link to the character sheet that we made for our character, as well as the character build guide over on the DM's Guild.
All right, so we're going to jump into the stats now, and we went with the point buy on this one, and we went 12 strength, 14 dex, and 14 constitution.
We went with a 10 intelligence, a 13 wisdom, and a 10 charisma.
Next, we pick our race, and we went with a hill dwarf.
Hill dwarf is going to, give us a variety of interesting choices. So now that we've chosen our race of hill dwarf, we're going to go with our background, and for this, as makes the most sense, we went with gladiator.
As Ted said, we're going with Gladiator. It makes the most sense. And we're going to get several things from that. We're going to get acrobatics. We're going to get performance. We're going to get the Skies kit. And we're going to learn a musical instrument. We took the drum.
Gladiator is a nice, variant on the entertainer. And let's face it, the gladiators have to entertain the crowd. So while the Skies kit and the drum don't totally fit what this guy is doing, the acrobatics and performance definitely do. So next up, we're going to choose our first class, and we're kind of going to go in a direction that you might not see. We're looking at rogue.
Yes, later on we'll get into why we went with that, but I feel like we have some really good reasons. So our skills are going to be athletics, intimidation, sleight of hand, and perception.
And those last two, sleight of hand and perception, are going to be where we put our expertise. So it is quite possible that how this person became a gladiator was they started off, as a pickpocket. They were out there, snipping this, snipping that. They got caught, they got thrust into the arena, and now they're at it. Now they're fighting for their life.
Yep. So speaking of fighting for your life, we're going to take a level of fighter, which is also going to give us our fighting style. And this may seem a little odd, but we're going to take Ranged. Now remember at the beginning of the video when we said we wanted to make a net fighter that doesn't suck. Well, a net is actually a ranged weapon.
So, the archery fighting style is going to give us a +2 with ranged weapons. This is what we need for what we're getting into. So now we've got a level of fighter, we've got a level of rogue. Now it's time to dive into, where our focus is going to be for a while. So we're actually going to take a whopping 5 levels of monk at this point in time.
The reason why we want monk is we feel like this is going to be a lightly or non-armored character, so that unarmored defense is going to be super helpful. But not only that, we also want those martial arts. We want to be able to fight armed or unarmed.
So I mentioned that we're taking 5 levels of monk. And the thing, we're only going to mention the things that are most important for this particular selection. So when we get to 3rd level, we are going to get open hand as our technique. That's the style that we need to go.
The great thing about using open hand techniques is you get some benefits when you use flurry of blows. Those benefits are you can knock someone prone, you can push them back, or you can take away their reactions. As we develop this build, you're going to see why that's really important.
So at 4th level, we are going to get our ASI, and we're actually going to choose a feat for this one.
We're going to take Sharpshooter. Now, we're not going to get one of the benefits, but the other two are going to be really useful. Avoiding some cover can be helpful, but we really need to not have disadvantage when we attack at long range with our net, which is pretty much all the time. So that's one of the primary reasons we took it.
And then 5th level, this is where this is our bread and butter for this particular build. Yeah, we're going to get extra attack, but we're really looking at getting the stunning strike.
So ideally what we want to do is we want to net them, we want to stun them, and we want to knock them to the ground.
So this is a major component for what it is that we're looking to build, and you'll see how all of these things wind up building together and making something really amazing.
So stunning strike makes them incapacitated. Chris Perkins says he feels like you can put manacles on someone that is incapacitated. That's going to be important later. But more importantly, it's going to make them much easier to knock to the ground. If you have them incapacitated, they're going to automatically fail that saving throw. They'll be knocked to the ground. If they're in the net, now they are prone and restrained and incapacitated for at least a round. So they cannot get up until they break free of that net. I know the DC is really low, but I've seen it in games where I've held a more powerful opponent at bay for 2-3 rounds just because of bad rolls. And if nothing else, it does require their action.
All right, so now we're going to take 2 levels of Rogue. This is going to give us Cunning Action. We're going to take the Archetype Thief to get Fast Hands, and you'll see where that comes in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember we said about Manacles? Well, Fast Hands as a bonus action, you can interact with an object. Manacles are an object. If your opponent is incapacitated, you can then manacle their hands behind their back really fast. So now you could potentially have them restrained, prone, incapacitated, and with their hands bound behind their back.
So from here, we're going to take 3 levels of Fighter. This is going to build us up to be able to choose our archetype, as well as being able to get that ASI.
As Ted mentioned, we're going to get that archetype, and we're actually going to go with the Purple Knight. So our +1 is going to be the Sword Coast Adventures, and the reason why we took that fighter type actually has a lot of synergy with working with the adventuring party or teams. A lot of their abilities basically lets them help others and make them more effective. So we see this kind of as a gladiator team leader.
What that's going to allow us to do, as the special rules on a net, during your attack action of using the net, should you somehow get an extra attack, you are going to lose that. So the Purple Dragon Knight winds up allowing you to use those type of abilities so that they're not lost.
But not only that, you can action surge once you net them, then you get all your attacks, and you could really whomp on someone while they're prone, down, incapacitated, restrained, and possibly manacled.
All right, so for that fighter ASI, we're actually going to put that into Wisdom, as the bread and butter of this is to get them stunned so that they are incapacitated. We really want to make sure that DC is as high as that we can possibly make it, so we need to get that Wisdom up as soon as we possibly can.
That is also why we took another level in Rogue to get another ASI, and yes, we went right back to Wisdom.
So from here on out, we are just going to finish up fighter levels in that Purple Dragon Knight to get, more fighting capabilities, to get more abilities to aid our party in these gladiatorial fights or wherever this fighting style winds up leading us.
It's really important to point out some of the things like the ASIs we're going to be upping our dexterity after we max out our wisdom. And then we're going to get as 10th level as a Purple Dragon Knight Inspiring Surge. That allows us, when we take our action surge, someone else can use their action or reaction to also make an attack. So when you have this person down and prone, you and one of your favorite buddies can really beat the heck out of them.
So the whole concept of this particular build is on round 1, you throw your net. You're able to attack with your offhand as your bonus action, stunning them. If you can get them to fail their saving throw, they are now netted on the ground, incapacitated. On the following round, you're then able to use your bonus action to manacle them. You still can go whomp on them or somebody else with your regular action, and they're now out of the fight for the most part. And then you can move on to the next one. Pull out your next set of manacles and your next net and go to town.
Yeah, I would say at the very least, if you have manacles on and you're in a net, you're probably going to have disadvantage to break free from the net. That's how I would rule it as the GM. Other GMs might rule it differently, obviously. But, this was a way for us to make a net fighter that was kind of interesting and not lame.
But it's interesting, it's powerful, and it's AL legal.
So with that, this is the part of the video where we like to say, how would we use this as an NPC? And I think this is real easy, right? They're in a gladiatorial pit fighting against gladiators, and this is one of them. This
is absolutely one of them. And that player who thinks that they're tactically sound and that they've got all the bells and whistles and they got it covered, and you come out there with this dude with a net and a manacle, and it's like, what am I fighting here? And they're gonna go up there and they're gonna be all brash and brave, and in a round and a half they're on the ground and unable to really take part.
They're wrapped up. Or, I also like him, like he used to be a gladiator and now he's a bounty hunter, and this guy's kind of traveling around and he doesn't really have weapons per se. He's got, a bunch of manacles and a net, maybe a dagger or two, but he's fairly unarmed. And notice we get sneak attack, but we never even talk about it because it just isn't that important to the build. We really wanted those levels in rogues just to get those fast hands. We wanted to do something fun and interesting. And whether you're playing this or using it as an adversary against your players, I think you could have a lot of fun with it.
Whether this person is, being hired by the opposition, if they're just a bounty hunter, as you said, you could go in a lot of different directions with that. And that's only using the net right out of the player's handbook and not using the net that exists, in history and in the lore of our world. So you could go in a lot of different directions that way.
Yeah, I mean, as the DM, if you wanted to be a little mean, you could make up an actual chain net with the hooks in it that was traditionally used instead of what we're using. It's a lot of fun. But the question is, would you play this in your game? Have you played something similar? Have you squared off against this NPC? Maybe as a DM you want to use it. Tell us about it in the comments. Before we head on out, I want to take a moment to invite you to join Nerdarchy the Adventuring Party over on Patreon. What can I expect over there, Ted?
We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that both players and DMs alike can drop right into their game.
But that's not all. We do monthly giveaways, and our patrons are automatically entered.
We also do weekly hangouts with our patrons and more.
So quest on down to the description, join the Nerdarchy Adventuring Party, and until next time,
stay nerdy.